Winston the Beard. I think I cut you off in South Dakota, just after Theodore Roosevelt National Park. So we'll go back. So after coming up through South Dakota and into North Dakota, Theodore Roosevelt Park up here, managed to get into Montana. And this route all the way across Montana was extremely long. Took a couple of days, I think, by vehicle, 2 or 3 days to get across there, and that was a long trip. Eastern Montana and North Dakota, so essentially either side of Theodore Roosevelt National Park. So all this area here and a lot of this area is where all the fracking is, and oiling and mining and things like that. It was a very interesting part of the trip. I didn't take too many pictures or hang around in the area very much, but I guess I would call myself a little bit of an environmentalist. Certainly someone who's interested in it. I found it a little bit difficult to see. I wouldn't say I agree with everything that happens. I'm not a fan of fracking, and I'm not a huge fan of the way that the industries have got a sort of quite aggressive approach to expansion. However, certain things like that are going to happen. I don't think I can get on the bandwagon of a lot of people environmentalists that just say no to everything when it comes to damaging landscape or changing landscape. We got this thing in the UK with the badger culls at the moment, and we got a lot of organisations being dead against it. Excuse the pun, but they don't want any badgers killed. They don't want any, certainly don't want any culling, vaccinations or anything like that. But we got to look at it from the other side of the coin, and farmers have got to farm, and certain things need to happen. Similarly with the fracking and the oiling, I don't think mining's a bad thing, but it's sometimes how we go about it, and it's sometimes what gets left behind once we've mined or once we've fracked, or how we fracked as well with certain chemicals and products that we use. So for example, I might be against it, but I'm only against it in certain ways. And an example would be that up there, that there are huge trailer park cities, temporary cities that they've built for all the workers to go and to live in, which is fine. They're going to need to live somewhere, but they definitely scar the landscape, and what gets left behind once the mining's taken place, or the quarries have been quarried, there's very little done in order to restore places. And obviously when people leave temporary cities that are all made out of trailer parks, the houses themselves and the buildings and the foundations and the stuff is all just waste. They get left behind. So there's a lot of people making a lot of money, but I'm sure if you said, right, well, you've got to use some of that money to restore the land, I'm sure that wouldn't be very popular, but I wish things like that were thought about. Anyway, through Montana, all the way across Highway 2, hugely long drive. I think I started making videos around the Black Hills. I wish I'd started making them earlier, although you're probably listening to this saying I wish you weren't making them at all. But I made one up here when I slept next to a railroad and a highway, which I think my sister found highly amusing, because those trains are pretty unsettling if you're trying to sleep next to one. off in towards western Montana and Glacier National Park. Glacier was probably the most stunningly beautiful mountainous region I've ever been to. Driving up towards the Rockies on this highway and seeing them appear on the horizon and getting closer and closer was something pretty special. They were, how can I put it? They were they're what makes this part of America. They're so important and so impressive that they really did just they blew me away when I got up to them. So I managed to get all the way up to the Canadian border, and then hike back into Glacier National Park. I didn't go into Canada because I didn't fancy another entrance into the States, similar to the one I had in Boston. But yeah, the mountains were just unbelievably impressive. The nature was, the nature was there. It was just lovely. I saw bear, I saw elk, I saw my first live beavers after seeing a couple of dead ones. Chipmunks, ground squirrels, just all kinds of stuff. And I managed to go and sit out by myself in one of the glacial meadows, and there was 3 baby coyote cubs just playing and rolling around, actually throwing some bones around as well. That was quite amusing. Whilst their mother was off hunting, and I just sat there and watched them for half an hour. That was really special. So Glacier was really pretty, and definitely somewhere I'd recommend for anyone to go if they want to see mountains, if they want to see wildlife, and if they want to be in awe at natural landscape. Managed to see both east and west sides of the park. Didn't drive over the top, didn't hike over the top. The roads were closed, or the road was closed. It's a famous road called Road to the Sun, and yeah, that was closed. I think they did open it a month or so ago, but they've closed it again because they had more snow. And then came down through western Montana itself, which was pretty poignant for me. I saw a movie when I was 9 years old, and read a book called A River Runs Through It. There's a town called Missoula, and the state capital, which is Helena, and in between those two is the Blackfoot River, which is obviously written about in A River Runs Through It, and the movie is all about the book, where 2 boys grow up with a love of fishing, and it's told very poetically by Norman MacLean, the guy who wrote the book, and he's obviously he writes his own story. So from about the age of 9, I've always wanted to visit that part of the world and see where he grew up, and see the rivers that he fished on. I had a pretty romantic notion in my mind of what it was going to be like, and it was very, very special. So that was, here you go, here's Missoula, state capital Helena here, and the Blackfoot is going to be in here somewhere. I don't think it's even on the map, the Blackfoot. It's not big enough. Anyway, after Helena, came down south through Montana and reached Yellowstone, which is where I'll pause. But hadn't planned on going to Montana on this trip, or indeed North Dakota, so I managed to see a lot more than I expected to, and a beautiful experience, absolutely awesome, seeing the mountains and coming down over the Blackfoot, and also a very interesting experience seeing all the fracking and the mining. Next stop, Yellowstone. Cheerio.